Good morning and a very warm welcome. You're watching Janata Television and this is the English Bulletin with me, Sushant Takal. The top stories first. Legal experts reiterate a dissolution of lower house is unconstitutional, say Prime Minister does not have the power to dissolve Parliament. Standing committee meeting of Dahal Nepal faction of NCP begins in the capital. Leaders discuss about mass mobilization during protests. Consumers worried about rising price of daily essentials. The government makes contradictory claims saying inflation is declining. 2020 sets yet another global temperature record. Scientists worry about the long-term temperature trend. And Sri Lanka get off to a woeful start in the first test against England, get bowled out for 135 in the first day. And now the news in detail. Lawyers have been opposing Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's decision to dissolve the House of Representatives. Legal practitioners and advocates have reiterated that dissolution of lower house has been unconstitutional and undemocratic. Although the Prime Minister has defended the move as a political matter, lawyers insist it is in a constitutional issue. Speaking at a program organized in the Valley yesterday, former justices and constitution experts all said that Prime Minister Oli's decision was unconstitutional. The legal experts were unanimous in saying that the Constitution does not grant the power to dissolve the lower house to the Prime Minister. Former Justice of the Supreme Court, Girish Chandra Lal, accused the Prime Minister of double standards. The Prime Minister, while dissolving the lower house, has cited articles from the Constitution but argues that it is a political matter, said Justice Lal. Constitutionalist Dr. Chandrakanta Gyawali said there are sufficient grounds for restoring the lower house because dissolving the house has never been under Prime Minister Oli's jurisdiction. President Vidya Devi Bhandari had dissolved the House of Representatives on December 20 last month upon the recommendation of the Cabinet. The move has stirred criticism from all walks of life. The hearing on writ petitions filed against the dissolution of lower house is scheduled to begin today. The hearing will take place at the Constitutional Bench, comprising of Chief Justice Cholendra Samser Rana, Justices Sapana Pradhan Malla, Bisambar Prasad Shrestha, Anil Kumar Sinha and Tej Bahadur Kesi. The debate regarding either the writs should be heard by the Constitutional Bench or the full bench of the Supreme Court is yet to come to an end. Today's pleadings will also focus on jurisdiction of the case. Out of 13 writ petitioners, 11 have submitted additional applications to conduct the hearing by the full bench. The Attorney General, on behalf of the government, has, however, argued that the hearings should be conducted by the Constitutional Bench, citing that the bench's sole purpose is to define the Constitution. Agni Kharel, Attorney General on behalf of the government, has been demanding to conduct the hearings by the Constitutional Bench. The Standing Committee meeting of Dahal Nepal faction of Nepal Communist Party has kicked off in the capital. The meeting, which started at NCP office in Paris Dara yesterday, decided to mobilize people in the capital to make their protests more effective. Former Prime Minister Magh Kumar Nepal informed after the meeting that the leaders discussed about further steps regarding the protest, meeting of party activists and the cases filed at Supreme Court and the Election Commission against the dissolution of lower house.
संगठनको व्यवस्थापनको पक्ष र त्यसपछि आन्दोलनलाई सशक्त प्रभावकारी बनाउने पक्ष देशभरिको रिपोर्टिङहरू लिने आन्दोलनको बारेमा कार्यकर्ता भेलाको बारेमा जनपरिचालनको बारेमा त्यसैगरी अब निर्वाचन आयोगको बारेमा अदालती कार्यकारी काम कारबाही प्रक्रिया कसरी भइरहेछ यसको सबै बारेमा हामीले चाहिँ रिपोर्टिङहरू गरिरहेका छौं
Added that Oli's move to hand over a letter to the Election Commission claiming his take over the party is meaningless. province in charge of all 7 provinces had presented a report about their protest during yesterday's meeting. The Standing Committee meeting will resume at 11 a.m. today morning. Coronavirus has claimed 6 more lives in the country, taking the death toll to 1,943. The government yesterday confirmed 403 new cases of coronavirus across the country. Following the latest round of tests, the total cases of coronavirus in the country has climbed to 266,546, while the number of active cases has dropped to 4,426. According to the Ministry of Health and Population, altogether 260,177 infected persons have recovered from the disease in the country so far. Nepal is currently among the top 42 countries that have been most affected by the pandemic. The USA tops the list with 23.84 million confirmed cases, followed by India with 10.52 million cases. Coronavirus has infected more than 93.5 million people across the world and claimed 2 million lives. The country is observing the National Earthquake Safety Day today by organizing various programs. This day is marked every year on January 15th since the last 22 years in remembrance of the devastating earthquake of January 15, 1934. The objective of observing this day is to create awareness regarding earthquake safety measures, as Nepal lies in the fault line with high risk of devastating quakes. Due to the awareness programs, it is believed that the recent catastrophic earthquake of April 25, 2015 claimed 9,000 lives, although authorities were expecting much more casualties in case an earthquake of such magnitude hit the country. The Ministry of Home Affairs informed that all 77 district administration offices have been instructed to observe the National Earthquake Safety Day by organizing various awareness programs today. And now the news from the economic front. With the prices of daily essentials on the rise in the local market, the government's claim that the inflation is decreasing has been put to question. The prices of all daily necessities have skyrocketed in the market. However, the central bank has published data showing that the prices of daily necessities have come down, while the general public is not ready to accept the report. According to data released by the central bank on Wednesday, the year-on-year inflation in November fell to 2.93% compared to the previous year. Inflation had stood at 6.5% in the corresponding period of the previous year. Food and beverages prices rose by 5.2% during the review month. Prices of fruits, ghee and oil, vegetables and pulses and legumes subgroup increased by 14.7%, 13.01% and 11.44% and 10.74% respectively in December this year as compared to last. The report shows that the price has increased by only 3.71%. Inflation is 2.35% in Tarai, 3.95% in the hills and 4.22% in the mountain region. Inflation in those sectors was 7.6, 6.66 and 5.27% and 4.83% respectively in December last year. However, the market price has increased more than the figures indicated in the report. At the moment, the consumers are worried about making ends meet. Consumer rights activists have said that the prices of daily necessities have gone up sharply in the last few months. But the central bank data show the prices have not risen at that pace. General people say that the data released by the Central Bank of Nepal is flawed and is a mockery of the market price. Consumers understand that no matter how much the price of goods and services go up, the data does not make sense, as the central bank's method of calculating inflation is different. From Thursday, charges will be levied for withdrawing money from one bank's ATM using another bank's ATM card. However, there is no charge for withdrawing money from another bank's ATM twice a month. The central bank has made arrangements to charge fees for transactions more than twice a month. Banks will be able to charge up to Rs 20 per transaction from Thursday. The central bank has made such arrangement by amending the Unified Directive 2077 regarding the payment system. While using the ATM card issued by one bank in the ATM of another bank or financial institution within the country, banks will have to make arrangements for a free transaction up to minimum of 2 transactions per month. Welcome back, and now the international news. Earth's rising fever hit record hot temperature levels in 2020, AP reported, citing global weather groups. According to the news agency, NASA and a couple of other measurement groups said 2020 passed on the essentially tied 2016 as the hottest year on record. However, some other agencies, including the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, said last year came in a close second or third. The differences in ranking mostly turned out how scientists accounted for data gaps in the Arctic, which is warming faster than the rest of the globe. NOAA said 2020 averaged 14.88 degrees Celsius, a few hundredths of a degree behind 2016. NASA saw 2020 as warmer than 2016, but so close they are essentially tied. The European Copernicus group also said it an essential tie for hottest year, with 2016 warmer by an insignificant fraction. The World Meteorological Organization, the British Weather Agency, and Berkeley Earth Monitoring Team had 2016 ahead. First or second rankings really don't matter, but the key thing is to take away is that the long-term trends in temperature are very, very clearly up, and up, said a scientist who heads NASA's Goddard Institute of Space Studies and tracks temperatures. A racing pigeon has survived an extraordinary 13,000-kilometer Pacific Ocean crossing from the United States to find a new home in Australia. Now, authorities consider the bird a quarantine risk and plan to kill it. According to AP, Kevin Kelly Bird said he discovered the exhausted bird that arrived in his Melbourne backyard on December 26 had disappeared from a race in the U.S. state of Oregon on October 29. Experts suspect the pigeon that Sally Bird has named Joe after the U.S. president-elect hitched a ride on a cargo ship to cross the Pacific. Joe's feat has attracted the attention of the Australian media, but also of the notoriously strict Australian Quarantine and Inspection Service. Sally Bird said quarantine authorities called him on Thursday to ask him to catch the bird. You're watching Janata Bulletin, and now the latest from the world of sports. Sri Lanka was bowled out for a measly 135 runs in the first day of the Test match against England at the Gala International Stadium. This was the first of the 2 Test match series that will be played between the two sides. Spinner Dom Bess took 5 for 30 as a woeful Sri Lanka batting display left England in control after the opening day of the first Test at Gala. The hosts were bowled out in 46.1 overs despite winning the toss on a pitch that offered only a little spin. England closed the day on 127 for 2 with Joe Root unbeaten on 66 and Johnny Bairstow on 47 runs. For the Sri Lankan side, there were a few batsmen who got off to a good start but failed to capitalize. Captain Dinesh Chandimal and Angelo Matthews tried to bring back some stability for the Lions by putting together a 50-run partnership, but after their wickets fell, the tail end offered no resistance as they were bowled out within 46 overs. We are at the end of Janata Bulletin, and the headlines once again. Legal experts reiterate dissolution of lower house is unconstitutional, say Prime Minister does not have the power to dissolve the parliament. Standing committee meeting of Dahal Nepal faction of NCP begins in the capital. Leaders discuss about mass mobilization during protests. Consumers worried about rising price of daily essentials. Government makes contradictory claims saying inflation is declining. 2020 sets yet another global temperature record. scientists worried about the long-term temperature trend. And Sri Lanka get off to a woeful start in the first test against England, get bowled out for 135 runs in the first day. And that's all from the English News Desk for today. You can follow Janata Television and our programs on various social media platforms, including on our website janatasamachar.com. Keep watching Janata Television. Namaste.